Hello everyone, this is H to the Harstem, and welcome back to another high-level game of StarCraft 2. Today we have a special treat. In the top right as our Blue Protoss player playing for Team Alpha X, it is Zoun. And in the bottom left as our Red Zerg player playing for Team Platinum Heroes, it is Iba. Iba, the up-and-coming British player, very young, I believe he's still 13 or maybe even 12, against our... well, one of my favorite Protoss players in the entire world right now. So opening up with a quick scout here. I think that was before the pylon even went down. This probe started marching across the map. And now is going to block his opponent's hatchery. As a result, Iba will only take the third base as his natural hatchery. And that's a little bit annoying, because it takes some more time for the drones to get over there. It can be a little bit difficult to hold any type of adept pressure initially. We'll have to wait and see what exactly is going to be the case. For now, not much can happen though. First 2.5 minutes usually are free for the Zerg. A little bit of mineral harassment is the worst that most of the time is going to end up happening. 18 extractor into 17 pool is of course the golden standard of Zerg. Not just in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, but in most matchups. Glittering Ashes is a map that we've seen a lot of different styles on. It is one of the larger maps, and thus we've still seen some double Stargate plays, some Void Rays, and Zoun has historically been a player that likes to build Void Rays, loves to build Void Rays, go into charge lot timings, follow that up with double Robo Disruptor or single Robo Disruptors. In general, kind of a player that also is, I want to say, slow to change, slow to switch to newer styles when they come out. He kind of has this plan set, and if he likes the plan and he continues liking the plan, he will continue playing the plan. So I guess that's what's going to be revealed here, is whether he still likes the Void Rays, or if he seems to be keen on what has been widely referred to as the hero style. These oracles into a blink type of opener, heavy gateway units, 4 gas into a fort base off of a low gateway count. It's kind of that hero style. We'll have to wait and see if that indeed is going to be the case. Now, Iba has taken his third base and is sending a couple of drones over there. Link speed is starting. We do see a Stargate as an opener, as well as a chrono boost on the first adept. The question is, will there be a second adept, and if so, is that going to be chrono boosted as well? The way that the warp gate is being constructed, I doubt that this is going to be a stalker follow-up, and indeed we do see that adept, second adept coming in here. Usually you'd wait with the warp gate if you want this to be a stalker, because you just barely don't have enough minerals, especially if you chrono boost, or enough gas, excuse me. Mineral count usually is fine, actually. No third queen on the way yet here for Iba. It's a bit awkward. That actually is a little bit awkward. And also something we don't see every day. Usually you see a way faster third queen, allowing you to kind of meet the double adepts, if they do come across the map, with 2 queens. At least from what I'm aware of. I could be incorrect, of course. I'm not super familiar with all Zerg build orders. Usually it feels that way. Adept is going to move in, try to perhaps get a drone kill. Don't think it's going to be able to snag one. Up. Good spore control. And Adept is going to shade away before the Lynx and Queens can deal any more damage. Queen's going to finish up in the natural. Queen is going to start in the main base, as our first unit is indeed a Void Ray. This is kind of that Zoun classic move. Wondering what the follow-up is going to be. I've seen him play a very special type of 9-gate. Like a 9-gate charge behind this. But as we don't have anything following this up yet. Ooh, and as I say, that is a Twilight Council. Twilight Council into an Oracle. No extra gases being taken yet. No robotics facility going down either, though. Still a lot of options here. This could just be a Glaive Adept. Could also just be for Blink, of course. That's fake. This is as fake as they come. This is an extremely fake +1. There's no way that this is going to finish. I do not believe it. Looking forward to see what will come out of this Twilight Council though. It almost feels like Blink in some weird way. This almost feels like a Blink build, but yeah, it is somewhat unlikely. Just the entire setup, usually with Blink you get more oracles. The fake +1 also kind of feels like it should be glaives, because you want to trick your opponent into building spores or more queens. Queens and spores are not very useful against glaive adepts, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen. We actually have pneumatized carapace on the way. also known as the Overlord Speed. And Overlord Speed is extremely useful for one simple reason. And that reason is mainly to scout. There's no other purposes. I guess you can scout around your base as well, or get some info around your base, spreading the Overlord. So there's a map vision component to it as well. But majority of the time when we see the pneumatized carapace, it is just for scouting the opponent's main. This might actually be different though. We could be looking at a little bit of an all-in here. Queens are moving towards the natural. This looks like the German taxi. Yep, we have a double Overlord morph in the main base. There's one Oracle that is going to spot a lot of these roaches though, and this is an extremely big tell right now. Glaive Adepts make their way across the map. We'll have to wait and see what is going to happen exactly. Overlords start marching across. Void Ray is going to show up as well, and these queens are just really late at entering these Overlords. Immortal gets constructed. We see more probes. Gas is being taken. Surely this is an incorrect read here out of Zoun. I do not believe that extra gases are the answer to the current threat. This Void Ray is taking a lot of damage though. Void Ray is going to fall. That means that these Overlords get to march across the map, or going to be capable of flying across the map for free. More links are on the way as a follow-up. Ravagers could start getting morphed as well. There's only a single air unit right now. Iba actually in a position where he could potentially kill his opponent. We do see the cancel of the gases here in favor of more batteries. This is not all that much. There's almost nothing here currently for Zoun. All he has is Adepts. A single Immortal, Adepts, and one Oracle. 6 Queens with, well, what is this? Maybe 10 transfuses total? We have 5 Ravagers as well. Stasis Ward gets used. Not a single one of these Queens has fallen yet. Can we get a couple of Biles perhaps? Maybe on one of these batteries instead. We're going just purely for the pylon, but that can be healed. Surely that's a mistake. Should be in between the pylon and the battery. First Ravager is going to get taken out. No transfuses available anymore. No, there were. Just didn't get used properly. A lot of the links are going down. Pylon might get taken out. Here, a couple more Biles raining down from the sky, but not quite getting the pylon. Pylon is so close to dying, and it finally will indeed. 12 more links are on the way. First Disruptor coming out as well, but these Queens are going to get picked up in the Overlords, and that means that this push is now over. 47 workers against 53, and the only thing left to do here for Iba is harass with these 6 queens. This sounds stupid, but it is the truth. 6 queen harass is a popular follow-up to the what's it called? The Berlin, the German taxi. There we go. I forgot the word for taxi there. The German taxi. Of course, strategy invented by Lambo, and thus gave the name German taxi to it. Overlords taking the function of the taxi there. Some good control with the Overlord, but eventually will die, obviously, to the Void Ray, no matter how well you micro. Blink is the follow-up. And on the other side for Iba, we see Aspire, a fort base, mediocre creep spread. But perhaps it will be enough anyway. Hallucinated Phoenix makes its way across the map. Puff, puff, puff. Spire gets scouted. Do we see Phoenix production start immediately? Second Stargate, and thus Phoenix production is going to be the answer. Third Stargate! Wow. Not a single Phoenix has started yet. +1 also finished, by the way. I didn't even realize that. That is really weird, honestly. I don't really have other words for that except for just being weird. This is such a big response as well. Out of Zoun. 2 extra Stargates, but not building any Phoenixes. So he's investing in the infrastructure, but not yet using that infrastructure. And right now he wants to check probably, hey, what is actually happening? Sees more Roaches coming out, sees more Ravagers, and now starts Phoenixes. I actually think that you want to cancel the Phoenixes at this point, because you realize that it's not going to be Mutalisk. Someone's looking for a push here. 3 Phoenixes at a time? What? I think this is a misread. A pretty big one as well. I think Zoun is completely misreading the situation. He believes that his opponent is saving up more resources to pump out 20 Mutas at once, while in reality Iba is saving no resources and is just building Lynx, Banes, Roaches and Ravagers. Setting up perhaps for a timing attack. There's no big AoE either, no Archons for tanking, literally just a single Disruptor, a couple of Sentries and Immortals for tech units. This is a weak army, and despite this weak army. Of course, I still believe that Zoun is ahead. Because he, just has good eco, has good upgrades. He has the potential, like... just to show how far ahead he truly was, him building 2 extra Stargates and 4 Phoenixes that don't do anything... still keeps him in a fine position. Like, these Phoenixes can die at this point, and Zoun is still ahead. That's how good of a position he was in. If you're in an even game against the Zerg and you build 2 extra Stargates and 4 Phoenixes, 5 Phoenixes, you'll die to any push that the Zerg can do. I do believe that Zoun exposed himself to some dangers here. At the same time also getting a fleet beacon. This is just a really odd call. It really just is an odd call. The same as this attack right now is, because this is an attack while knowing that your opponent doesn't have that many drones. You know there's no extra gases on the fort base. You're mining 8 gas against 6 gas versus a Zerg player that is maxing out on 70 drones. The correct answer here isn't moving across the map trying to kill your opponent. The correct answer here is sitting back doing nothing, pumping out Storm, getting more cannons and getting carriers. I like the carriers, I like the Templar. Sitting back. These are good calls. Here comes Iba though. Needs to start moving out on the map right now. Has hit max. And at this point his army is not going to increase in strength anymore. That means that this move out is inevitable. And it will happen. There's 40-ish banelings, 50 banelings almost, 49 to be exact. 5 Phoenixes here for Zoun, a couple of banelings coming in from the side. I like that a lot. Phoenix is having their first truly useful move, and that is taking out this baneling flank. Same time taking out a couple of these Ravagers. +2 for air is not done yet. Are the first 2 carriers out? First 3 carriers are out, aren't they? Yeah, they are. We see Infestation Pit, melee upgrades as well behind this. Zoun completely mismoving this army. It's going to be caught out of position if he isn't careful. Stasis is going to get triggered. Iba's going to move back home. Lose another Ravager. And build 10 drones. Now, this is not a very viable solution to the problem he's facing. Which is the carriers. He needs an answer to these carriers. And the answer does not lay in this army. There is no answer currently. I'm not quite sure where this army is going either, honestly, but it is what it is. Queens are going to get targeted down here. A couple of Phoenixes should be capable of clearing that anti-air, and that means that the only anti-air left is going to be, well, these Ravagers, the moment these Queens end up dying. Wouldn't mind lifts on the Queens over this. Decent force fields, big flank, good control on these banelings as well with the big splits here. Evil actually getting a pretty decent engagement right now. The real problem, of course, being all of these air units. A couple of Biles are going to land. No, perhaps not. No Biles, no anti-air in general. 10 Corruptors are being built, and this was a good fight here for Iba, but he has no units that shoot up currently. 15 Corruptors are going to help out. They don't have any upgrades. +2 is about to finish up as well. Biles are going to try and hit. If this fort base ends up falling, that means we're going back to a 3-base situation. Yeah, this is just painful to watch, honestly. Iba getting absolutely destroyed at this point. That's not what we want. There's going to be a run by towards the 5th base. Even if you get a cancel on this 5th base, and I don't even think that's going to be possible, you're still just down a base. And as Zerg, you want to be up a base majority of the time. Especially if you have this type of weak composition. Because that's what this composition is, weak. Corruptors flying across the map right now, though. 16 Corruptors are out, so are these 80 workers. Gas 7 and 8 on the map as well. Could come in handy later on. The 5th base gets built. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of baneling run-bys here. Confused by the carapace. Well, not confused. I understand why the carapace, but I also would just love to see +2 banelings. I think the only way you're going to get back in a game like this is by having some solid baneling run-bys into bases while your opponent is moving out. Either that or you really need to turtle up, get your spores, get your infestors out. We see adrenal glands is being constructed. Understandable. Of course, Lynx have a big benefit once they do get the adrenal glands. Problem is there's just not that much supply in Lynx. Lynx only are really useful if you have loads of them. Like 10 Lynx don't change anything. Well, 10 banelings can change the outcome of a fight. Can definitely change the current eco that your opponent is working on. If your 10 banes kill 15 workers. I mean, that's a big deal. That really is a big deal. Love the infestation pit. The pathogen glands. Most likely the neural as a follow-up as well. would be important to get. Greater Spire often helps you stabilize as well. Get a couple of these brutes out. It definitely is a very viable way of playing this. Salad Rumba is set up on the right side already. Iba with a casual APM of 950. That's not his actual average APM. Certain players use a trick. Rapid fire with a high repeat rate. Or I guess it's a low repeat rate. Which allows you to, if you hold down a button, to just infinitely click it again and again and again. At very high speed. That's what's happening here. Very often used for creep spread as well as constructing units. So that's what we're seeing here. Nothing else. He does not actually have an average of 930 APM. Although it would be cool. But that's not the case. Maybe APM is like your heart rate, you know. The older you get, the lower it gets. At least that's what I heard. Usually the formula for your max heart rate is something like 220 minus your age, I think it is, or 210 minus your age. The same with APM. It is 1000 minus your age times 10, something like that. Iba is like 12, so he's still stuck at 880 on average. But then that would mean that I would have an average of like 750. No more. No less. 740. I do not have an average of 750. It's like double of what I have. Yeah, this push is going to be really difficult to hold, honestly. There's a bunch of carriers out right now. 6 carriers. This is a classic 6 carrier push. And it just hit like a truck. You're going to need some type of casters. You're going to need spores for it. I like the 5 base setup. That is often a good way to deal with it. There's no spores here in this middle area. No neurals available yet either. One of the main tools you can use against this is Neuraling Archons. And it's a very good tool that you can use. Neuraling Archons is absolutely fantastic. It's a great way to deal with an army like this. Because Archons deal with interceptors very well. They also tank a lot of damage. We're going to see some of these Broodlords pushing in right now. Big abduct there on the mothership. It's going to cast a Time Warp on his own unit, so these Broodlings are going to be slowed down. Good control on these Corruptors, honestly, as well. Dodging majority of these Archons. The Broodlord count is doing fine, but the Corruptor count is slowly decreasing. +3 attack, of course. And without any carapace upgrades, this has to be a GG. Zoun taking out the young, talented Zerg player. Who tried his best. Honestly played a good game after a very poor early game. It always makes me sad when you have these players you don't know too much about. And they do some type of cheese. Or some type of all-in, and it fails, obviously, because Zoun is very good against this type of stuff. And then he actually plays a cool game. It always makes you wonder, hey, what would have happened if Iba wouldn't have started here with some type of German taxi, you know? He probably still would have lost, because Zoun's also really good on late game, but at least we would have gotten a better clue at what his true potential is in the late game. Felt like he had good ideas in the mid game as well, so yeah, interesting to see. All-in did not quite work out, and from there on out, it's just going to be really difficult if there's a player that is, 1200 MMR above you. Well, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this game, despite it being a little bit one-sided, and hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye.